This is KGW News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Thanks for getting up with us on this Saturday morning. I'm Tim Gordon. A new month brings new laws to Oregon and Washington. The big changes across the Northwest. Plus, the warning from local health experts as COVID cases and hospitalizations are increasing. The CDC has moved even more Oregon counties into the high-risk category. But before we get to all that, let's check in with Joe Ranieri for a quick look at the forecast.
Well, welcome to your holiday weekend, and it's really going to be a nice start, but I am tracking some changes that arrive for some of us by the later part of today and into Sunday with some scattered showers, heavy at times, basically throughout the Oregon Cascades and Central Oregon. I'll talk more about that in detail in just a few minutes, but as we look at the weather headlines, holiday weekend starts dry. Again, those showers move over later on this afternoon and into the evening hours throughout the mountains. Showers likely on the 4th of July, but again, rainfall amounts are going to be pretty much on the drier end. As we go throughout the later part of this morning, we'll be seeing mostly cloudy skies, clear skies though throughout the central and eastern side of the state. But again, by the afternoon and in the evening hours, we could be seeing some heavy downpours. So if you have plans to do any camping at all this weekend, expect to see some showers at times throughout parts of Bend and Redmond, and those showers and thunderstorms carry over into the eastern side of the state. And coming up in my detailed forecast, we're going to be seeing some cooler conditions for the holiday weekend for Sunday and into Monday, but basically after we get into the earlier part of the week, we'll start to see a bit of a warm up. I'll talk more about that in just a few minutes.
Okay, there you go. Thanks, Joe. New this morning, Portland police declared an unlawful assembly after a group of protesters broke windows on a vacant building near Peninsula Park in North Portland. The vacant building was the only one that was damaged, and police broke up the group fairly quickly. A nearby church has been on guard this week, worried they'd be the target of vandalism. Church leaders at Holy Redeemer Catholic Church say they heard the protest would focus on abortion rights. A nonprofit, several businesses, and an anti-abortion center have all been vandalized in Portland since the Supreme Court's reversal of Roe versus Wade. Well, heading into the holiday weekend, most Oregon counties are now in the high-risk level for COVID cases. Some new variants are throwing off predictions for how the virus might behave and delaying the latest COVID forecast. These are Omicron subvariants, BA4 and 5, and they can really spread. Doctors say they now make up more than half of new cases. It's part of the reason the CDC just upped the number of counties at high risk for COVID transmission in Oregon. You see them on the map there, most counties now in red. So expect more of what we saw in June, including more people in the hospital. That's according to Peter Graven, who forecasts COVID activity for OHSU.
And now I think we have a pretty good idea that indeed we will see some increased infection rates. We are seeing, and with that has come some increased hospitalizations.
Well, recommendation number one is still be vaccinated and get boosted. The booster is really important when it comes to these Omicron variants.
And that is Dr. Paul Cieslak with Oregon Public Health, reminding us of the most important way to be in that low-risk category for COVID, vaccinations. And we know a lot of you will be celebrating the 4th of July holiday this weekend. Dr. Cieslak says avoid indoor gatherings, but outdoors he is much less concerned with the virus spreading. Well, up in Washington, Governor Jay Inslee is making the COVID vaccine requirement for state agency employees permanent. Current employees have 1 year to get up to date on their shots. That includes all boosters recommended by the CDC. New employees will need all of their shots before starting work as a Washington state employee. Well, it's July and a number of new laws are now in effect in Oregon and Washington. For instance, some Oregon workers got a raise on Friday. The minimum wage increased statewide, varying based on where you live. In the Portland metro area, the minimum wage is now $14.75 and is now $12.50 in rural areas. Also, a major reform to Oregon's bail system. Now, arrested suspects will be released or held in jail before their first court hearing or trial based on their threat to the community. In the most dangerous cases, they won't be allowed out on bail no matter how much they're able to pay. Advocates say this will make Oregon's justice system more equitable. However, critics say for lower-level criminals, arrests will just become an inconvenience if they don't have to post bail. In Washington, new laws include a ban on the sale and distribution of high-capacity gun magazines. High capacity is defined as a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds. The law, however, does not impact possession of them, just the sales. Another law attempts to crack down on catalytic converter thefts. It requires businesses to buy them to show a record of their transaction and pay through a traceable source like a check or credit card and not with cash. Catalytic converter thefts have been rising nationwide in recent years. And Washington license plate fees went up on Friday. Now you'll pay $50 for a new plate instead of $10. The money will go toward funding Washington's transportation initiatives. Okay, Portland's Moonstruck chocolate has a new owner, and all of its stores will be closing. This is a bummer for folks that love that Moonstruck. We've learned the business has been sold to the New York-based company called Chocolate Works. They'll still make Moonstruck locally, but they'll consolidate operations at a facility in Northeast Portland. KGW reached out to the new CEO. He said some office and manufacturing workers are staying on, but many retail workers were let go. Next Friday, Moonstruck will close its last 3 stores in St. John's, Beaverton, and in downtown Portland.
The reason why I've always loved Moonstruck so much is some of their specialty stuff that they don't really sell in the stores. So the brick and mortars have always been the place to get it, and I've loved coming down here to the St. John's waterfront for years to pick stuff up from them, and so I don't know.
Now, the new business model includes selling Moonstruck online and in big box stores. Well, this is big news for travelers. Amtrak train service between Seattle and Vancouver, BC will resume in September. That's actually 3 months earlier than previously reported. Amtrak still hasn't released details about ticketing or reservations. Well, school is out for summer break, but students' mental health needs are still front and center for a lot of educators and parents after such a tough couple years. As Christine Petewanich reports, there's a new resource to identify ways to help young people who are struggling.
I think that in all of the years that I've been a psychologist, I've never seen a single point in time where the entire world is dealing with simultaneously a crisis.
The crisis, not just the pandemic. Over the past couple of years, the stress of remote school, politics, inflation has an impact on everyone, including kids and teens.
You know, we're still hearing from a lot of families that there's a stigma around mental health. And I think
Dr. B. Grace Bullock, the senior mental health officer for the Oregon Department of Education, says ODE just launched a new website this week to help people deal with mental health issues.
the Oregon Classroom Wise platform is a lot of tools and resources to help support youth mental health and staff mental health in schools. And that's directly in response to all of the needs that have been expressed over the last few years.
The website has links to videos, articles, and online courses for anyone from parents, teachers, to community organizations.
It deals with a lot of really important topic areas like how to support children and adolescents when they need emotional support or social support, what to do when students are experiencing distress.
This past school year, teachers, parents, and administrators across various districts said students had higher needs than ever before, in part caused by the stress of the pandemic. Often, those needs presented themselves through behaviors at school, some violent.
Pretty much everybody I know is feeling, the effects, the fatigue, the stress, the anxiety of the unknown, and the exhaustion.
But Bullock says the silver lining, if there is one, is the growing recognition that mental health is important.
It affects how we learn, it affects our jobs, it affects, our lives, literally.
She says the online platform will be updated with more information, but they're relying on feedback from Oregonians. The Department of Education has $5.5 million in federal COVID relief money dedicated to mental health. The website is one of 3 things that money is being used for. Funding will also go toward developing higher education courses around mental health and getting more mental health professionals into a handful of districts to connect families with resources in the community. Christine Petewanich, KGW News.
Well, as safe rest villages for homeless people open across the city, a nonprofit is taking a different approach to housing the homeless at a church parking lot in Northeast Portland. Coming up next, a look at the plan and why some neighbors aren't sure it is the best option.